Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. This is the Python Essentials course episode 2, and make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to know whenever I upload a new video. Also remember that after this course is the ARKit Swift course, so make sure to watch out for that. Let's get started. Today we're going to be covering functions, lists, and conditions. Let's get started with conditions, as this is pretty key to any coding language. Let's start with a simple example. We can check if someone is old enough to drive. Start by creating a variable for the age requirement. So let's say old enough to drive, like the age is 16. Then you create a condition type if. You use the word if to check if this condition is true, and then you have a parameter. Let's say Bob's age is 20. So then you check if 20, and then you can use the greater than symbol or the lesser than symbol, the greater than equals, the lesser than equals, the equals. And here, if you want to use equals, you need to have two of the equal signs, or you could use even equations by using parentheses, such as parentheses 20 minus x is greater than 2 or something. But for now, let's just keep it as 20, and greater than age. And then for the if statement, you need to use a colon at the end, and then you hit enter, and then this is what happens if this code right here is what happens if the parameter is true. So if the 20 is greater than age, then you can use a print statement as covered in the last episode and type let's say old enough. And you can also use shift and F10 to run your code. So if we hit shift F10, it says old enough. So now we know Bob is old enough to drive. Now if we try another age that's under, we could create an else statement to check if that's not true. If that's the parameter isn't true, then you could do else and write print too young. And now if we run it again with a smaller age, then the first if statement would be false, so it will go to the else, and then the else statement would be triggered and this statement would print. So if we type 10, then run it again, it says too young because that's under 16. And there's also a third type of condition called elif. So if you have multiple of ifs, but if one of them works for you, if you want to check multiple things with the same parameter, then you can use elif. So let's say elif age Bob's, let's declare a variable called Bob, and then Bob's age would be 16. Then you could do if Bob equals age, then you could print something different, you could do. And by the way, you have to do two equals for a normal equals in parameters, and you could print just old enough. So then it would print just old enough. Yeah, missed a T right here. Then let's get on with lists now, because lists are also key data types. So if we can with lists, you declare a list just like a variable. So you can do my list, and then to declare a list, you need to use two brackets like that. In this list, you can have multiple items. Like my list, you could do bananas, apples, carrots, and that could be your list. And then you can even print this list, but you would have to change it into a string because you can only print strings. technically. And then, so now if we take out this for now and print that, then it would print bananas, apples, and carrots. Then there's add and remove functions for lists. Let's say you would want to add something to my list, such as oranges. So you do mylist.append, and then you add oranges. Then you print this again, so we'll just move that. Put it over here. So at the start, you can see it's bananas, apples, and carrots. Then after this is appended, it's gonna be bananas, apples, carrots, and oranges. But you can also remove. So after this, if we do mylist.remove, then you could do, like, we want to remove carrots because we only want fruits. So then you remove that, then you run it again. Then it's only bananas, apples, and oranges. Then there's a term called index. So let's say we want to find the index, like the first item in my list. So counting in Python of like lists and such actually starts with 0, 1, 2, and then continues. So if we want to find the first item, we would do brackets here and then 0 to find bananas here. We could also use 2, 1 for carrots or apples, and then 1, it would find apples. And also, I mean, you can't append an index, but you can remove. Like if you want to remove carrots, you just do my list bracket, and then it would be 2 because bananas is 0, 1, and then 2. And then you have to fill in the parentheses right here. Then if you append like oranges again, you don't need to, but then it would still do, let me just print the whole list actually. It would still do remove carrots because that's the index. And you can even use index for strings. So let's delete this stuff. Let's say name equals Bob. Then you could do print, and then you could do name and then use the brackets for the index. So as said before, B, the capital B would be 0, O would be 1, and then the lowercase b would be 2. So then you could do name 0, then it would print B, such as this. And we'll talk about functions next. So back to our example with old enough to drive, we can create a function for that. But first let's cover another example with add. So def is how you define a function. So you write def and then the name of your function, in this case add. Then you add parentheses and you have parameters, arguments. So in our arguments we would want the first number, and then you comma to separate any arguments, and then the second. Then you add a colon to just like a condition to continue, and then you write what the function does with those two arguments. So in our case it would be print first plus second. Then if we use the add function now, let's do add 1, 10. Let's run that. 11. So that's a simple add function. You could use this for creating like calculator, but let's go back to our old enough to drive example. So there you want def old enough, and then the parameter you want was age. And then, so given someone's age, you have to check if they're old enough to drive. So what you do is you have a condition, and then if age is greater than 16, for example, like in the drive example, and then you write then print old. You had to print strings old enough, and then you could do else also, and then print too young. And you can even use an elif to check if they're just old enough, but I'm not going to do it right now. But then now you can just go into your line and then do old enough using your function, and then enter an age. So let's say someone's age is 20, then you run, and then it says old enough, and then you can try like 5 and then run it again, and it'll say too young. So that's a simple function, and that's enough for our video now, I guess. Make sure to watch out for the next video, and thanks for watching.